Good morning, sir. So today I would like to ask you a few questions.
Yeah,
So the students who are watching this or our audience could get some insights from your journey.
yeah, sure.
So first of all, could you please briefly walk us through your journey
Yeah.
and why did you exactly choose to do what you are doing right now?
Okay, so a quick overview of my background. I did my engineering from Mumbai. After that, I decided I didn't want to be an engineer, so I pivoted into the business side in finance. I started my career with JP Morgan in the investment banking team. Did a lot of fundraising, helping clients raise money through IPOs, follow-ons, etc. I did that for about four and a half years roughly. Started off with the Indian markets, then did a little bit of European, Middle Eastern markets. After that, I decided that I wanted to maybe rewire my career or move into a different direction. So I think I got a little sort of overwhelmed. I mean, I would say exhausted with investment banking, and decided I wanted to move on the corporate side. So an MBA was probably the best, good platform to make that shift. So I went and did my MBA from the University of Texas at Austin, the McCombs School of Business. So I did the 2 year program out there. Did a lot of courses in finance, entrepreneurship, in investments, in corporate strategy, etc. And then what happened was, incidentally, I did my summer internship in the US, and towards the end of my program, I sort of got an offer with back home in India with a renewable energy company. So I decided to move back almost immediately after my MBA. I didn't stick around in the US to, unlike which is quite unconventional. I mean, because traditionally people spend a lot of time in the US and then they, before taking a call whether they want to come back. I came back almost instantaneously in a heartbeat because I wanted to be in India in the long term. I wanted to spend time out here and, be at home.
Yeah.
So then after that, for 2.5 years roughly, I spent time in the corporate strategy function of renewable of one of India's largest renewable energy company. And then what happened was I made a shift to the government, government advisory side. Spent about one and a half year roughly in the government advisory space. Working on a lot of FDI engagements and projects for the government of India. Now, what happened is during the course of this journey, a lot of students would sort of constantly reach out for mentorship, for guidance, etc. So I started doing that also parallelly, and it continued to grow. And then subsequently, I think after I completed my government, towards about 1.5 years, I decided to take the plunge and started my own entrepreneurship venture, which is the MBA Edge. We work basically what we do is we work with early and mid-career professionals, guiding them towards what they should be doing next with their career and how they should be planning it out. So what that entails is also a lot of career coaching plus what they should be looking at in terms of MBA or masters. So I've been doing that for almost roughly over 2 years now, and it's been an exciting journey. It's been roller coaster. I mean, it has its ups and it has its downs. A lot more downs than ups. So I mean, that's been my journey so far. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot of things that you have done in a very short period of time. And to you, obviously, it seems like there have been more downs than ups.
Yeah.
But to someone, an outsider, it seems that there have been ups constantly. And so, as you said, that you guide students regarding MBA
Yeah.
and their masters. There's this also recently people have this thought that MBA degree doesn't hold that much value anymore.
Yeah.
Like what you need right now is more real life experience, and then Nikhil Kamath has put it that
Yeah.
MBA doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
What are your views? Do you say that it continues to hold the amount of value that it used to hold at one time, or has that really changed?
See, don't go after a lot of these influencers who are billionaires. I mean, they've already, for them, even if they don't do anything, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
See, I think, if you're conventional, coming from a middle class, upper middle class family, you want to break in, be successful in your career, etc. I still think it holds it holds immense value, and the primary reason for that is not just one or two startups or founders. I would say broadly corporate India. So when I talk about corporate India, it will be the top 150 companies within India, and even globally, we continue to value MBA quite a bit, particularly the HR, the CHROs, and the hiring managers. Now, what does an MBA indicate to them? It indicates that you bring in a certain amount of business understanding, certain amount of management skills, certain amount of leadership, and ability to manage projects to deliver. on time simultaneously, whenever there are any ups and downs, you can figure your way out. So I mean, the point is, with an MBA, the answer, the thing is, you may not have the answer, but you know how to get there. That's what an MBA entails. Now, what an MBA also means is that, uh, I mean, the focus of an MBA is not so much on the hard skills. See, in this era of AI and ChatGPT, anyone has all the answers, from a theoretical point of view. What matters is the soft skill, working with people, working, making sure that the output that you've committed, that is delivered. So I think that continues to hold a lot of value, particularly for corporates and for those people, who are the sort of, see, in the era of AI, I think knowledge is not going to be your differentiating factor. Your ability to coordinate and, deliver and work on a lot of different things. I think that's going to be important. So that's what an MBA is probably, the focus has been historically. I mean, it's not so much on the hard skills, it's more on the soft skills, the people skills, and, ability to work in teams, etc. So at least till now, a lot of, most corporates and tend to sort of really value. If you're looking at the startups, within the startup ecosystem and within the landscape, I would be very honest and tell you it really doesn't matter, because startup is all about, just making, I mean, it's just a lot more about risk taking and, sort of building businesses, which are very different mindset. But if you're looking for a traditional career, working for one of the large companies, it still holds a lot of value.
Okay, so our next question would be, what role do internships exactly play and how important are they?
So I would say internships are extremely important. They're important for two reasons. One is, whenever you're sitting for a full-time job for the interview, it becomes extremely, it indicates to the interviewer that you're interested in that particular industry or that particular function. You have some sort of an experience. You're putting in the effort to get to understand, the workspace, how the environment is, etc. So it's extremely positive. It gives a very positive signal to someone who's interviewing you. So that is point number one. Point number two, what happens is a lot of internships, if you do well, I mean, more of, I mean, 70-80% of the time, people are just happy to have you back if there's an opening. So, I mean, then you don't have to go out and, do job hunting once more. I mean, if they like you, you like them, and then there's opening, I think more often than not, they are more than happy to have you back. So that's why internship is extremely important.
As a mentor as well, a person who has done MBA,
Yeah.
what difference do you see in MBA that is done from Indian management schools compared to the ones in US?
So there's a significant difference between an Indian business school and an international business school. Indian business school, what happens, tends to be very theoretical in nature. Secondly, what happens is Indian business school, they tend to target people who are relatively early in their career. So what I mean by early is anywhere between, fresh graduates and have up to 2 years of work experience. So it's very early for them to really figure out, what they want. More often than not, people tend to take the jobs that are the highest paying, and I would say a lot of times they end up regretting that, because those jobs tend to demand quite a bit, and then they're looking to shift subsequently in the long term. Whereas with a global MBA, the thing is that you come in with a decent amount of work experience. So you've tested the waters with respect to the job market. You have sort of figured out what you've had a broad sense of what the job market entails. And then secondly, a lot of the global business programs, they tend to focus a lot more on practical learning and a lot more on case basis learning. So more than the professor teaching you, you are learning from each other, and plus a lot of companies sponsor consulting assignments, projects. So that itself is a learning experience, right? So that's a fundamental difference between the two. I mean, one is the kind of the demographic of the people. So Indian MBA relatively, yeah, early, but there's a global MBA with a decent amount of experience. And secondly, there's just the teaching methodology. So Indian business school tend to be far more theoretical in nature, whereas international is a lot more practical.
So anyone who's interested in pursuing MBA, what advice would you give to those students?
I think number one would be the biggest advice would be to focus on your exams. Getting good GPA and graduation really helps, and that also translates into good GRE and GMAT or CAT score. So I think academics is important. Secondly, your extracurricular activities become extremely important. So just being active on campus, participating in various societies, cross college events, etc., becomes extremely important. And over and above that, I think just getting internships and experience to whatever extent you can, I think is really helpful. So this is what you should be looking at. Okay.
So, lastly, a fun question. What advice would you give to your undergraduates?
To my undergraduate, I think again I would say the same thing. Yeah? Just figure out what you want to do, because I think I have pivoted a lot more than most people tend to pivot. So I moved from engineering into investment banking, from investment banking into renewable energy, and then from there to I think into government advisory and then entrepreneurship. So I've pivoted more than what people tend to do that. So I think I would tell my younger self to maybe just figure out what you want to do and invest some amount of time. But I think pivots have also helped me build a lot of skill sets and different experience, and get different exposure. So I think that's just about it. I would say. I think the rest is all. I think it panned out pretty well. Definitely. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.